because he's doing some really fun counterintuitive stuff, and I am always eager from people who, rather than selling books, are actually out building real businesses. And Isaac is certainly one of those people. I'm making fun of Alex Hormozy. Sorry, that was just for those of you that didn't get the reference. So Isaac's out there freaking innovating and pushing the limit and doing new things and making mistakes. So today's going to be a really fun conversation for me. So Isaac, I thought is a fun place to start. I mentioned in the pre-call that I didn't really kind of want to do like the big bio thing, and just like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a minute, just so people know kind of like where you came from, how you ended up with Jay Blanton, and then kind of like where you sit now. And then I'll just start kind of throwing hard and awkward questions at you.
Okay, I like it. What's up, everyone? I'm Isaac. I'm the owner and CEO of Jay Blanton Plumbing. We're a plumbing company based in the Chicagoland area. We've grown really rapidly the last couple of years. I bought the business 3 years ago. We've gone from about 6 million of revenue to a run rate of 25, and we are trying to keep growing. And our goal is to be $100 million home service company in the next couple of years. A lot of work still to get there, but we feel good about our trajectory. I come from a pretty entrepreneurial family, and so I had a background. My parents had small businesses, and so saw them operating them growing up, and wanted to run and build my own businesses. And so did a couple things in my career that got me here, and ultimately searched for a plumbing company, bought it, and now here I am 3 years later. And did not have any background in the trades before this, but learned a lot about the trades through some friends like John Wilson, who I met, who had purchased or built companies in the trades, and got to know them, fell in love with the industry and the people, and now here I am
And
on this
you,
podcast.
your buddies with Rich too, right? Rich Jordan.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
big. I'm a big Rich Jordan guy. Big fan.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
Rich is a great guy, super smart operator.
yeah, and he's
Learned
like
a
a
lot
little
from
nuts
Rich.
too, which I really identify with. You know what I mean? Like he's a little like. Um, so okay, so SBA loan, self-funded search. What
uh,
kind of?
so did a self-funded search
Okay,
and then used some SBA debt. Yep.
awesome. Okay, cool. I'm just kind of like framing. I mean, you are. I would argue you are like the dream. I mean, I poop on ETA a lot just because I think it's a little in a lot of ways. I think it's not done intelligently, let's say, and a little recklessly. But you are the poster child, which is you got an MBA, you were in like the ETA club, you worked at a couple fancy companies, let's call them, and then you're just like YOLO. I want to like think about water heater installs, and
Pretty much.
you've shown that. I mean, you've hit whatever escape velocity is, I think, by almost any measure of the word, and you still have all your hair, which is incredible. Like,
um, it's you said the dream. I think it's some kind of dream, might be like some kind of like lucid or psychedelic dream. It's definitely a lot of ups and downs. I mean, it's not easy. I think anyone can do it. It just is a matter of getting like obsessed with something. And I just got weirdly obsessed with home services
yeah,
early on into like learning about them. And I tell people this a lot. Like, we're a plumbing company, but I don't think of us as a plumbing company. At the end of the day, we are a consumer sales and marketing business.
yeah,
We have an operational component, which involves installing plumbing and doing
yep,
sewer work. But at the end of the day, it could really be any type of widget, any type of
yep.
company. It's just the fundamentals of business and of generating demand and managing people. And if you can get the right people around you, it's very possible.
It's funny you say that because everybody on my team, because I bought a home improvement company that was started smaller and then grew and then we sold it. But I said, we are a marketing and sales company that happens to do garages. It was
Absolutely.
exactly how I said it. And I think
Yeah.
it ties into the first question I was going to ask you, but there's already one right there, which is I think when you look at fresh blood in some of these industries, one of the most fundamental innovations is that you don't identify yourself as a plumber. You identify yourself as a business builder who's in the plumbing industry, right? Or like, what's
Yeah.
like, is there a way to say that?
No, I think you said it right. Yeah. Like, obviously, I can't identify as a plumber because I don't know
Because you're
much about
not.
plumbing. I mean, I've learned like a little bit, but obviously I'm a very unhandy person, which is also ironic. I'm like one of the least handy people that you probably will ever meet. Um, but no, yeah, that I would say that's how I identify myself for sure.
So what approximately was your head count when you bought? And then what is roughly your head count now? And I know it's a big mix between local and global, which we're probably going to talk about.
So we were somewhere in the 20s when I bought it, I would
Okay.
say, with no one globally. And
Yep.
now we are 130 something, 130 to 140 counting global, and probably about 80 or 90 in the US, and then 40 something, 50 something globally.
That's so cool. That's like putting like red meat in front of a hungry lion. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna like pause for a moment because there's a bunch of questions that I just want to kind of ask you about, and I'm going to start with the first one, which, you could give a lot of different answers here, right? In almost any aspect of your business. I just saw a video today about how you
Yeah.
kind of structure kind of your crew, which is, it sounds like your and I's mind is very wired very similarly in terms of I talk a lot about labor specialization and how
Hmm.
that's unlocking productivity. You went to University of Chicago, so well, you went to University of Chicago, right? Okay,
I got my
yeah.
MBA
So
from University of Chicago. Yep.
yeah, okay. So some good old fashioned, Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, labor specialization. So you've got it. You come by it honestly. But what would you say is something when you look at your trajectory, which is uncommon?
Yeah.
What would you say? I think what you already said is a perfect example of it, which is we're a sales and marketing company that is excellent at plumbing. But are there any other themes that you think kind of are through lines? Again, I'm sure there's tactical stuff like we don't use this drill, we use that. I mean more thematically about. I mean, obviously, one about global talent is for sure one, but we can put that near the end. Like other ones that you think is just like a certain lens of glasses that have enabled you to kind of have the trajectory that you've had thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being like obsessed with growing, and I actually don't believe, there's a saying, good artists copy, great artists steal. And so I think of myself very much as a sponge. I said, like, I'm obsessed with home services. I like talking to other home service entrepreneurs. I love doing shop visits. I'm a part of best practice groups like Nexstar, involved with, the Service Titan community and going to conferences. And so I go
Nice.
to these things, and I see of myself as a sponge, and I like to see, every single organization, big or small,
Yeah.
there's something that they're really good at that's their superpower. It's like, okay, well, what can I copy that's their superpower, and then bring it back here? And so I'm always like learning and taking and bringing back here. So like that's a big, I think that's a big thing. I think we're just like very obsessed with growing here. So like I don't, because maybe partly what you said at the beginning, which is I'm not a plumber. I came from other industries, some other industries that are also in companies that are obsessed with growing fast. So like every day I just think about, what are the most important little levers that I can pull that have the most leverage on them to where we can grow fast. So is there an area of our business from a sales standpoint that I think could have the most returns? Okay, well, let me focus on that process and getting people for that area. And there's like examples we could talk about, but really putting my time on that because I see how it can create the most upside quickly. And so constantly just thinking about that, constantly trying to grow, and not being wedded to anything. Like if you talk to people on my team, like we are uh, definitely have a chaotic rate of change here. Maybe
You
it's
have to.
how
It's
I
your growth
work.
rate. You can't be.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
how I work and how I think, but just like, yeah, constantly changing and trying to grow. And if something doesn't work, just like pivoting and trying something else.
It's interesting. And I read it somewhere about like I think largely because of geographic, localization is a wonderful competitive moat, right? Like you're not going to get, why
Yep.
couldn't Google compete with you? It's because Google's not in Chicago running a plumbing business, right? Like, and so
Yep.
that allows a couple different things. One of them I think is absolutely what you said, which is distillation of best practices, and they're not like garbage best practices because like
Yep.
SEO guys don't talk about their best stuff because every SEO guy
Yep.
competes with every other SEO guy. But you call Chris Hoffman from St. Louis and he's like, hey man, maybe one day I might buy Isaac or he might buy me or what. Like, so hey, here's how we're using Service Titan to solve this problem. So I think in industries where
Yeah.
there's geographic moats, I think there's more proliferation of best practices. Do you agree with that?
I think that's 100% true. And I think the trades like plumbing, HVAC, electrical, even is a step further. Like it's kind of wild how open and sharing the industry is.
Yeah.
We're a member, Chris Hoffman's on the board and a member of this organization too, but it's Nexstar, which is 1,000 of the best plumbing, HVAC, electrical companies in the country
Yeah.
that are all part of this group and sharing best practices and doing trainings together and sharing financials and have a ton of coaches. And so it is, yeah, it's just incredible the sharing and learning that can happen. I don't think any other industry that I've seen is like this open and connected. And I think a big part of it is the fact that, yeah, like most people don't compete. Like there's tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of plumbing companies in the US. Like the market's massive and
Yeah.
big enough for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's actually like I actually the real one of the reasons why I ended up in this industry too is, I think of any business as a game. Like every industry, every business has a game. It has the set of parameters of what's good and what's bad about it.
Yeah.
And I really liked the game of home services. And then,
Yep.
within home services, each trade has its own game. But I was attracted to, obviously it's a massive industry, one of the
Yeah.
biggest industries in the country. Plumbing alone's 100 billion. It's super fragmented. Biggest company in markets, maybe 1%. It's enduringly recession resistant because it's a necessity. It's
Yep.
not getting disrupted by AI. It's not getting disrupted by China. Not getting disrupted by Amazon. And so, yeah, it has like tremendous fundamentals to it. So that's what got me starting to look at it. And then, I've always been interested in the consumer marketing side of things and human psychology. And there was, yeah, it was just that also matched up against the fact that this is a consumer marketing business and was, yeah, just kind of excited me and I got obsessed.
When I looked at, so I was in, and I draw this distinction specifically: home improvement versus home services, right? Home improvement is
Mhm.
solar, kitchen cabinets, stuff like that, right? Higher
Yeah,
tickets, project based revenue, bigger margins, but non essential, versus home services, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, generally speaking, right? Like that's how I always
for
tell
sure.
people,
Yeah.
like home improvement is not, Facebook ads versus Google ads is usually the easiest way to think about it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, one is I didn't know I needed that. I want my house, my kitchen to look like that, and it's much more sales and marketing dependent with less labor challenges or licensing
Hmm.
challenges. Whereas plumber is like, I need a plumber right now, just like who can get here fastest. And
I think you just summarized two differences very, very well.
because I've thought about it a lot, because I'm like, because people
Yeah.
use those interchangeably. I'm like, no, these are way different.
Yeah, they are way different. I mean, we have a little bit of a flavor for that too, because we've been doing more shower modeling. We have a small division, which I think of as very adjacent to plumbing in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
is really a part of home improvement, kind of
Yep.
like similar to a bath planet. So we've been doing starting to do a lot more of these shower models,
Yep.
and
They're high
it
margin project based, but you want to do that off the back of your home service revenue or some sort of
yeah.
ideally recurrent. It's probably a little lower ticket, But what I was going to say was when I looked at home improvement, um, you know, when I looked at home improvement, or sorry, when I looked at home services, and I'm curious based on your scaling, and it might be different with plumbing versus say HVAC, but to me the constraint seemed like skilled trade labor. And I was like, I don't, when I look at games, because I tell people the same thing, I'm like, just know what game you're playing. You're playing the Facebook ads game. You're playing the in
Correct.
home sales game. You're playing the inorganic growth game because the only way to get more tax is acquisition, right? I always
Yeah.
thought, how have you solved the skilled tradesman game to grow at your rate without inorganic growth? It seems like you've done it all. Or is that just an HVAC problem, not a plumbing problem?
No,
Like sometimes I
it's like
combine
a
those.
it's a huge plumbing problem, if not more so plumbing than HVAC, honestly. I mean, we haven't solved it. I just think again, like there's a lot of yes, there's a shortage of tradespeople, but there are a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
And so if you just try to be a great place to work with
Yeah.
like really high pay in the industry, we try to be some of the highest paying, one of the highest paying companies in the industry, definitely in our market. We try to have great benefits, have a great
Yeah.
place to work, and then aggressively recruit. So like,
Yeah.
I mean,
We've hired you
I
recruiters.
mean, yeah, so we use Sagan. So we've
Yeah.
hired a lot of people through Sagan. I have recruiters and headhunters who are actually overseas who
Yep.
spend all day on Indeed and other
Yep.
sources and just
Speed to
like
lead.
reaching out to
It's the same
people.
stuff. Speed to lead, all that great stuff,
Yeah,
right?
so we're just very very aggressive on recruiting from reaching out to people. And then when we find somebody that's good, we treat it like NBA recruiting where we're going after people with, very attractive packages
Love that.
and really trying to get them over here because, if you bring on the right technician, whether it's sales, install, whatever they are, I mean that could be a $1 to $2 million
Oh,
producer, just one
huge.
person. So
Huge.
you can invest a lot into that person and that recruiting process when the return is so massive that they
Yeah.
can produce $1 or $2 million.
The other thing that I think you do as well, that when I talk to a lot of a lot of lower middle market private equity, right? That's
Mhm.
kind of really Sagan's kind of avatar. Like guys like you, like holding company or forever holds growing companies, or a lot of lower middle market private equity. And you're also, I think, doing something. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I think it's the big idea, which is sure you need to do all the basics right with technician recruitment, right? You got to respond quickly on Indeed, and you got to
Yeah.
right treat them respect, all those great things. But the actual best way to do it is to take your positions that are not your constraint, i.e., the person who runs your Facebook ads or does your whatever, and you move them overseas. And then you take payroll savings that you've saved from not having to have that person in Chicago, and you give it to your tech and pay $4 above market. And now you've created a strategic advantage because you didn't have to raise your prices, you didn't reduce your margins, but now you get to pay your apprentice plumbers $6 an hour more because the person answering your phone isn't making 60 G's a year. And so there's
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
right.
impressive that you've thought. I mean, you've thought a lot about this. You have some. I'm impressed by some of your takes, honestly. I would say, I would.
Wait, you're like, actually, that's not a bad idea.
No, no, I agree with that. I mean, it's a slightly different spin than how I think of it, but it's true. Like I foundationally think that one of the reasons we can attract the best people and keep them and pay them the most is because we've tried to create like the most value for our customers and the best brand. And we're constantly working on that process, and that allows us to charge a premium price, which then trickles down.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, like using global talent, you can reinvest those savings, and that's like another tool for
Into
that. I agree with
increasing your
that thousand
service level,
percent.
or yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, but we use global talent even more so. Like I like using global talent, and a lot of our departments will be structured with a lead or a manager who is in the U.S., and then we
Yep.
build the team around them overseas. And what I really like about that, and what we use it for, is to put people in roles where they can. And I think I have a post coming out tomorrow about this, but I like putting uh, overseas people, global talent, in roles where they're important, but I can't justify the expense of having a full time U.S. person, or it's maybe like that just difficult to recruit someone for that. So we
Yep.
try to use that to improve our service quality, improve our customer experience. So like, I'll give you an example. Like, out of we have 40 something global talent members. We have somebody who one of their main jobs is anytime we sell an excavation job, there's whatever 30, 40 villages, cities in the Chicagoland area. We sell an excavation job. They'll immediately call that village and pull permits and call in the utility markings, etc. So it's like super important. And it's something we can't miss. And we're able to put someone just doing that or having that be a big part of their role, and so they're super fast at it. And so we have a bunch of people doing different auditing things, whether auditing jobs that complete, auditing transactions, just doing all things that we can niche it down into them being able to really focus on it. And because they're not here, they're not distracted in our office, like talking to people, having coffee here with people, doing whatever. And they're able to have less responsibilities. They could just like hone in
Yeah.
on one or two mission critical things. So yeah, I think it's really a supercharger on the back end with being able to get more support faster on things.
I'll say a few things
It
about
was
that.
actually probably one of the first things that I started doing when I bought the company. It was like extremely fast, probably within like 1 or 2 months that I started recruiting global talent. And it started off with our inbound call center, and then just like grew from there.
Just went from there. Yeah. I'll say my favorite example of that is we hired somebody full time global talent to just chase accounts receivable, and magically our working capital needs shrunk by 50%. And it
Yeah,
wasn't like
that's a great
collections;
example.
it was just like sending a text message saying, "Hey, just want to make sure you got the invoice." And because what would happen is our busy front desk person would do it
Yeah,
occasionally,
that's a
and
perfect example of the way I think about it.
and it would so what I think you do very well, just looking at the way you're structured, which I tell people to do, but not everybody takes advantage, which is especially with global talent, you want to give as small of a job as possible.
Yes, I agree with
And
that.
you're just like, wake up and just get us reviews
Yes.
because you're $1,500 a month full time. And finally, we're going to systematically get reviews and referrals after every completed job. And so people try to think like, well, I don't know, are they going to be busy? I'm like, is getting 100 reviews a month worth 1,500?
That's
Hire the
exactly,
role.
yeah, that's exactly how I think about it.
Stop thinking about
I
utilization rate.
again, like I have an overseas person whose main job is to one of their main jobs, another one is to every time we finish an excavation job, they make sure that the technician upload all the safety pictures. so that we're checking all the safety pictures, they're following the safety rules, which is very, very important. And if
Yep.
they don't, they're messaging the
Right
people,
then.
and then we right there we implement penalties for that. So I mean, I'll just give a quick overview of our global roles. We have inbound call center, which is our biggest, and there's a bunch of layers there from like team leaders to agents. We have inbound call center, we have outbound call center, which is a sales function. We have recruiters, which I mentioned. We have bookkeeper, accountant. We have all kinds of auditors. We have we have a web developer. We have
Love
two
that.
actually like software engineers, developers. So
So
we
cool.
develop a lot of our internal scripts and automations
Us
and
too. Yep.
reports. So I have two people doing that.
How
I
many?
have a
I know
fleet
John
coord- I have a
Wilson.
fleet coordinator.
I know John Wilson also has like full stack devs. How many plumbers do you think have full stack developers other than you and John Wilson?
Probably very few people are
Not too
doing
many.
this. Definitely.
So
That's
keep going.
definitely
Sorry, I just
it's
laughed
definitely
because
very
we
out
hired
there.
I think we hired a dev for John Wilson. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely very out there. We my digital marketing team probably has 4 or 5 global talent people on it doing different things within that team. Definitely multiple other things that I'm not even thinking of right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes up 40 to 50 people, and it's a huge definitely huge advantage. It's kind of funny too, like even when I've signed like leases and stuff, like
Yeah.
sometimes when I sign a lease, a landlord will be like, you need to have like business interruption insurance in case like the building goes down. I'm like, not really. Like I don't even need this building. Like a huge part of my team is across the world anyway. So like I'll tell you, like my entire call center is overseas, and it's been that way for 3 years. I have nobody in the U.S. Um, who is on the inbound call center team.
The
Um,
the other concept too, again, because it seems like you like my random analogy, so I'll give you another random analogy, or not random analogy, but it's just like a method to think about it, which is John Smith wrote about this in the 19th century, right? Or Adam Smith, not John Smith, not the wrestler, Adam Smith, right? Which is the only way to create real wealth is labor specialization. If you only have 100 people, doesn't matter how resource rich you are, you cannot create real economic output because you don't have labor specialization, which increases productivity. And what I tell people is global talent allows you to afford specialists at smaller revenue numbers, which lets you create labor specialization, which unlocks growth. Because what the hell kind of $4 million plumbing company
For sure.
has a reviews and referrals person who can afford that? But now you can get one in Argentina for $1,500 a month, and magically you break through that.
I think that's like
That's
literally perfectly
it's labor
said.
specialization is
I
what
think
you're
it's perfectly
doing,
said.
right? Because everybody has this at $200 million, but what global
Yeah,
talent allows you to do is do it at $10 million, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
That's my favorite frame to think about globalization is labor specialization.
I agree a million
You like
percent.
that analogy?
No, I think it's perfect. I'm gonna steal it. Actually, I'm gonna say too. Well, it actually describes what I think better than the way I described it. So,
Well, this is what I do full time. Like this is what I do full time is think, because I'm like, what is Isaac doing? What he's doing is the mistake that I see people make is they're like, well, I don't know. They come at it the wrong way because they're used to $75,000 a year all in American talent.
right,
And they're
right.
like, well, she needs to do the schedule and she also has to do this or else I can't break even on this hire. And I'm like, the
Yeah,
smart people are like, how can, like, if all you did was catch one excavation mistake a month,
no, literally, it
we break
pays
even.
for itself. Pays for itself right there.
And
That
so
is the exact way I think about it.
but that's what's different. That's, the purpose of this train of thought was, what are you doing differently? And I
Yeah,
think the thing that you're doing differently is you're like, what is the smallest job I can carve out? Not how do I make sure they're 100% you're like, bro, they're $6 an hour. What
yeah,
are we doing here?
yeah. No,
Like,
yeah,
what are we doing?
no, yeah. I think that's people coming from a cost savings perspective, and then coming from it from a just like general like small mindedness, greed in some ways. Like like I
Yeah.
need to extract the most out of this. Whereas if you think about it from exactly like you said, like if they do this one thing a couple times, what value is that bringing me? It's actually off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. It's just this one thing over and over. Like,
Yep.
did you have, in your estimation, because I know a lot of different industries oftentimes have basically stair step growth, right? Where most commonly it's when they need middle management but can't afford it. right?
Yeah.
Did you have any real like, oh, it was that sixth truck, or it was when we finally needed an installation? Did you have any like very obvious in property management? It's like because I talked to Peter Lohman a lot. It's between like 100 and 400 doors, where it's like really hard. You make less money, and because you need middle management, but you can't really afford
Yeah.
it. Like, did you
I mean
have any
that's a good question. I mean, that's happened to us a lot. Like if you actually were to
like
look
every day?
at our well actually the last 3 months run an upswing. So it's always good. But it typically goes with like 3 months of upswing, 5 months of plateau, 3 months of upswing. So if you look at our growth, it's a lot of stair steps where we'll plateau for 3, 4, 5 months, and then we'll explode because we'll have a couple things work out. So like typically the way I think about it is I like to have like a lot of different growth irons in the fire. So I'll be working on like 3 or 4 things at once that I think can pay off in the span of a couple months. And then I just work on those things, and a lot of times usually what happens after a few months they hit at the same time, and we go up a leg,
You remove the
and then we get
constraint. You remove
yeah,
the
and then we get
constraint,
to
right?
like we get to reap those fruits for a few months, and then we plateau again, and that's like all right, time to find the next thing. I mean, there's a lot of parts like going from like I said, when I bought it, we were six. Going from like 6 to 10 or 11 was like super easy and profitable, and then probably like 10 or 11 to 20 was like pretty bad.
This is
It was
crew.
no, this
Uh,
is $1 million a year
oh,
of.
okay.
This is like
Sorry.
run rate revenue.
So wait, start again because I was thinking numbers of people, not $1 million
No,
run rate.
I
So
don't. I
start again.
usually think I don't really think in terms of numbers of people. I think in terms of revenue.
Which is smart, by the way, especially with your use of global talent. Because people always, I
Yeah.
saw somebody in the comments section was like, "How do you have 60 global talent?" You're like, "Bro, don't think about." They're like $1 million per employee. It's like you're doing
Oh, I
American
did
math. I saw
see.
that
Yeah,
guy's
I did
comment.
see. I did see something like that. No, so I don't really normally think. I don't think that way. I think in terms of yeah, where our revenue is. And then obviously we have metrics we look at in terms of profitability. That's how we size
Yep.
talent and stuff like that. But I would say so. I bought it. We were 6 million a year. We got to 10 or 11 million run rate very fast in a
And it was
couple
like all,
months.
it was basically like all of the bottom line kind of thing. It was just like, I mean,
Yeah, it
roughly,
was
right?
like
Yeah.
we were crazy. Like I pretty much immediately just started pulling on like demand levers, like right when I started.
Yep.
So pulled on a lot of like demand levers, and without really adding much cost, we went from 6 to 10 or 11 million, super profitably. And we're just printing money. And but at that time, a huge part of our business was reliant on one salesperson.
Oh,
Um, and we had some issues with that part. He probably did like a third of our sales. It's kind of nuts. And then one day he walked out the door, and third of your sales walk out the door. We're at 10 or 11 million. We regrouped pretty well. We actually didn't go backwards. We just plateaued for like 6 months. But it required like a huge reshaping of the company. I mean, this guy was like a phenom, and like the specific stuff he was selling, which I don't really want to go too much into detail, but the specific setup was very profitable and didn't require that many people. And so even like keeping that revenue required a huge reshape in the way we were organized, which was very expensive. So then a couple months go by, we get there, and that's fine. And then, we're still basically whatever, 10, 11, 12 million. And then going from there to 20 run rate was very, very expensive because we pre-built a lot of management overhead. Like I do have a very, very, that guy is right. I do have a very big team. Like even in the US, I mean, let's say you would take my 43 overseas people and you like weight them down to a third or something like that. Let's say it's the 15 US equivalent.
yeah.
So you take the 15 US equivalent or some number you want to do, and then you add that to my 20 in the US. Like I do have like probably 35 US equivalent office staff, which is a
Yep.
lot for trades business my size. So that's why 11 to 20 was very expensive because I pre-built a lot of
You have to.
infrastructure.
You have to.
Yeah. So that
You
that
have
was
to.
stressful, and that was difficult. And we clawed our way up to a 20 million run rate. And now the last couple months we're up to a 25 million run rate. We're back into kind of like a nice sweet spot zone where money is good, and it's been easy. Knock on wood, because it's guaranteed going to go the other way.
It's like
But I
sawtoothing. Is
yeah,
usually,
I
yeah.
think I think where we're right now, we're at about 25 million a year run rate, and continuing to grow. And I think from here to maybe the mid 30s or high 30s, I think will be kind of a honey zone. And then I think there'll be another. Then I think you get clobbered again to try and build more infrastructure to go from there. Um,
You think at that point, inorganic, I feel like, right? I mean, that's probably the best growth lever at that point, or no? At that size, or you think you just organic all
uh,
the way?
no, I think we can go organic for a crazy long time. For us, we really just do one main trade in one geography, Chicago.
Got it.
And so we do plumbing in Chicago, which is big. So we really have two. I think we could take this from 25 million to close maybe to 40 just in Chicago. And then we could either add another trade, which HVAC would be logical, and we could double our business in our service area just with HVAC,
Yep.
or we could go to another city and do plumbing in another
Plumbing.
city. And that's
Yeah.
another option for us. When I started this, I was really interested in buying businesses and doing a roll up. I thought that's what we would do. And then as I got in the industry and started studying what I would describe as like some of the greats in the industry, whether it's Tommy Mellon Garage Doors or Chris Hoffman, and I look at what they did
Don't
over a
give
period
Hoffman
of
don't give Hoffman a compliment. He was a Marine. Don't give Hoffman
when
compliments.
when I look at when I look at those people, what they did in whatever 5 to 10 years, building one brand, building really one brand in and one company, it's just like a much more valuable, strong company. And so when I look at us, like the most valuable uh, company that I can build, and I think the strongest company is doing one brand, one team, one processes. Again, the way we think of stuff is very
Uh,
different. So it would be extremely difficult for us to buy something because it's just
yeah. It's so
not gonna match up.
I also think, particularly in your industry, I don't think you can buy well.
This is
I
pretty tough. Yeah, it's very
right now.
expensive. I mean, even trying to buy reasonably well would be difficult. And again, though, people in our industry buy things when they run out of organic growth. Like if you can organically grow,
Yeah.
you wouldn't buy something. Like it's more cost effective, it's better culturally, it's better enterprise value to build. So if you can build, you would never buy. And we think we barely scratched the surface in Chicago with plumbing. Like we look at, we dissect the Chicagoland area into, different blocks and zip codes, and we're so ridiculously non-existent in so many areas of the
Yeah.
Chicagoland area that we don't even think we're remotely anywhere. Like we're like right now we're honing in on just a few areas and doing a lot of stuff. Like we've built a pretty large events field marketing team. We're doing a lot of like real world advertising now,
Oh,
whether it's
cool.
billboards or radio.
I know
We do
Rich
a lot
likes
of
radio a lot. Rich likes radio a lot.
Yeah, we got pretty big into radio a few months ago. We've actually pulled back a little bit and are actually doubling down on billboards and local activations. So we're running
Cool.
about right now about 10 events a week. So whether they're farmers markets, festivals, tabling at
Wow.
other local businesses, yeah, we run about 10 events a week. Have a full-time event staff and are just trying to like dominate. Like there's basically, we think of pockets of Chicagoland. They can even be like 2 by 2 mile squares where they're dense old homes and high income and they need a lot of plumbing services. So when we think about, okay, well, how can we just like blitz these areas with a variety of marketing? I'll also send like tons of mail. Like this next month, we're going to send 40,000 pieces of mail in September. So like we'll go to like one of these zip codes and we'll get a billboard. We'll send everyone who lives there a piece of mail and we'll run events. And then we have our trucks and maybe we even have a billboard. So like how can I, 3, 4, 5 ways have a
5
homeowner
touches.
see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, to where I look like the no brainer choice, and then we think we're pretty decent branding, pretty good at advertising, and have some pretty good compelling offers to people. So yeah, we're really honing in on like actually just like doubling down on smaller areas of Chicago that we know that we can build big there, and then we still haven't. We're still so far away, in my mind, from working out the exact recipe. But if we work out that recipe, we'll just keep taking that to other little 2 by 2 squares and just keep going.
It's interesting how much it's if you were to talk to 95% of people who own plumbing companies in the US right now, the kinds of things they talk about and think about would be so different than what I think you think about on a daily basis. That doesn't mean that you don't get dragged down into certain stuff. Obviously, that's the nature of business. But even something like a concept like multi-channel marketing that creates a density in consumers' minds
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
targeting certain like I don't think it's an accident when you hear people who've been successful. It literally sounds like they're talking about a different business.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. I think that's
it,
true.
like if you swap the word plumbing out, you could have been like, oh, you're obviously talking about something else, right? Like,
Yeah. No.
it-
Yeah. That was kind of the point I made at the beginning. Like, it's not about it being plumbing. It's about it being this consumer. Like you have two sides of the business. Like one side is you're building a consumer brand and essentially selling a consumer product. So like all the normal things about building a consumer product and brand are there. So like that's really interesting. And then you pair this with like all of the things around managing skilled blue collar labor, which then also throws out a lot of people who normally build consumer companies and brands. Like they're not going to do anything
No.
related to this because they're not going to deal with all of the challenges and dynamics of managing skilled blue collar labor. So that's kind of like a moat that you get to then have. And so you get to yeah, blend these like two crazy worlds together in a way that is I mean it's definitely not easy, but that's where all the glory is.
Well, that's the old Naval. I think it's Naval Ravikant, where he talks about like it's very hard for you to be the best plumber in the world, but it's actually pretty straightforward for you to be the best plumber combined with the best consumer marketer,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
like, oh, we're not the best global talent, but we're the best global talent and continued education. In the like, it's very
Right.
you just
Yeah.
by combinations you can define a category where it's like, dude, these guys aren't thinking about
You're
freaking
you're
CAC
you're
to
dropping
LTV.
some knowledge wisdom bombs in this. It's kind of crazy actually.
No, I'm
I don't
just,
know. I don't know. I don't know how well you prep for this, but honestly, I'm kind of blown away by some of the stuff you're pulling out right now.
I stole. That's not mine. That's just recollection.
I
But
know. Just so you pulled that out, that was impressive.
but it's true though, right? Which is there's probably better consumer brand builders than you, no doubt.
Yeah,
And
for
there are
sure.
better people at running blue collar skilled crews,
For
no
sure.
doubt.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Venn diagram, you're like,
Yeah.
it's like you going like this. It's
Yeah.
like one.
I've actually never thought about it. I mean, like I kind of obviously I just articulated this, which is what got us here. But again, I think that's a very well said summary of yeah, I do think what makes us different is we are pretty good at consumer branding and marketing. We're pretty good at
Yeah,
managing a skilled blue collar force, and when you put those together,
correct.
and that's like yeah, that's very weird because I do think of myself as like a business chameleon,
Yeah,
and so I
me
think that
too.
like I'm very comfortable in because I've worked in a lot of different industries and functions. That's I think why also I've gotten pretty decent at this because whether it's in-home sales whether it is brand marketing, whether it's the call center, whether it's accounting and finance. Like I feel like I could talk to people in like those functional areas and like know quite a bit about all those functional areas or can figure them out. So like my day, like I could literally do like, and I do this, like I'll do again if I identify a sales area, like I'll go ride around in a truck and with like a sewer salesman and like work with him on like and like coach him on how to like run a better in-home sales process on sewer sales. And then I could go work on like accounting stuff. And like I do spend my days like that.
I read somewhere once, and it was talking about like really high performers, like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. And one of the things that somebody said was just like they are competent in a host of areas, right? Where you can't
Yeah.
just like say he's a great plumber. You're like, he just went from like building an N8N automation to like getting underneath a house to show
Right.
how to do that correctly, to then going and doing an investor presentation for an upcoming growth round. It's like
Yeah.
I've always challenged myself to kind of not get labeled in one category, whether it's like good at sales or good at ops or good at AI and automate, right? Because I think to become the level of successful that I aspire to be professionally, you just have to be like, yo, I can manage a Google PPC campaign. I can also sell my ass off in a house. I can
Yeah.
also redesign a process like a freaking systems engineer, and you won't know which one of these I'm bet. Like I've always challenged myself to try to
I
be.
think that's a cool way. I think that's a cool way of thinking. And I think, yeah, that I can see that in you. And that's I think
But that's what it takes, I think, right? I
yeah.
think that's what it takes to get uncommon success in an industry like plumbing, which you've done, which is you're going to talk to the new plumber's apprentice in one sentence and then like negotiate an enterprise SaaS bill and put on your old
Right.
Lazard hat. And you're going to do
Right.
it within like 30 minutes of each other, which I think is what it takes to be as successful as you've been within ETA. I mean, I don't think it's an accident. I mean, that's the promise of an MBA, right? It's not actually true, but the promise of an MBA is that it's all widgets and you have a set of tools that I don't think it often, in your case I think it did with your combination of academic and practical experience. Obviously you had the right alchemy, but
Right.
I think the promise of MBA is broadening skill sets so that you can build a brand and turn a
Yeah.
process upside down, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. And Um, yeah, again, I think like I think me being competent or dangerous in like variety of areas is definitely, I guess, a strength, a superpower of mine. And then combining that with just being like obsessed with the industry of what I'm doing. Like this is what I love doing. I don't
Yeah. And
like
not
my
wanting to
hobby
flip.
is biz. My
You're
hobby
you're
is
you're
business.
perpetual
Doing it.
hold. You're
Yeah,
perpetual
like I
hold,
want
right?
I want to
Yeah.
build this because this is like my hobby. This is what I like doing. Like for fun, I listen to podcasts about home services, and I think that a lot of people, like a lot of people who are searching for business or want to buy a business will ask me questions about like searching, or I'll go to a conference or whatever. I'll go back to Chicago and people ask me about like how I identified an industry or whatever. And for me, it was again, like I started learning about it. I decided I became obsessed with it. And there was like no question that I had to do something in this industry because I was now all in obsessed with it. And I think that has percolated through why my search was fast, through why we've grown, is just really liking this. And like I would definitely not be as successful in a different industry. Like I wouldn't be as successful in your industry because I'm not obsessed with
Yeah.
your industry, or name a different industry. Like this is just what I have come to really love and what I'm interested in, what I think about and what I study. And just like I'm sure you'd say you're obsessed with like global talent and the nuances of
I am.
like this business model and like how
Yep.
the benefit it has to your customers. And so that's why you will be successful at this and why you are successful at this. And I think if you, yeah, just like fall in love with that game, I think that's what it is.
I think the other place that it really has a big impact that I think you're also an example of that I think people miss, which is, and I learned this early in my career when I was working for the government, which is you're not as good of a liar as you think you are. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is when you're congruent, when you say to the seller of Jay Blanton, I'm obsessed with this industry, I'm going to own this forever. And
Yeah.
he sees you, like the searchers know you're supposed to say that. But in the back of their mind, they're going like, well, this is just like a little shitty plumbing company. I'm going to flip it to PE in 3 or 4 years because the sector's
Right.
heating up. Or when you do your first kickoff meeting with your crews and you're like, guys, I'm obsessed. Call me. I love talking about this sector. I love learning things, right? There's a congruence that I
For
think
sure. Yeah.
people sense, which gets people onto the team and it helps you recruit people and retain people and convince sellers. Whereas I think a lot of people cosplay as passionate, right? They just like,
Yeah.
well, I'm supposed to say I'm looking for one great company and name my search fund after a river and a landmark.
Oh my God.
And like, and they just do it's performative. It's kabuki. Whereas, right, it's Japanese
No,
fake puppetry.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I think also like I'll also tell people like I don't think you should search or look in multiple industries at the same time. Like I think find something, learn about it, find something you're interested in. I mean, maybe it's harder for other people. Like I don't know, maybe it's just organically I was genuinely like I'm a curious person and like business and um so maybe it's not easy for other people, but if you're interested in doing something like this, like yeah, you have to actually really like the game you're playing, really
Of
fall in love
course.
with the game, and that's the only way. You
It's a
can't, to
blast.
use your word, cosplay it. Like you definitely cannot cosplay
It's
it. I mean,
cosplay.
you would melt in 2 seconds doing this. Like it is not easy. It is really, really chaotic.
When I train our managers, one of the things I tell them all the time is good leaders are like authentic to a fault. And so if you come at it from a position of obsession and game and something doesn't work out, you go, guys, you know me. I'm always trying new stuff. That new commission plan, failure. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was trying to get more money in your pocket, but what I realized it did was completely cut out this whole service line.
yeah,
My bad. And people look at you and they're like, yeah, he's telling the truth. Yep. Like,
yeah. No, I
whereas,
mean
you know what I'm saying?
we fail at so much stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff we do fails and whatever. You just have to size the bets or little things you're doing so that if it fails, it's not really a big deal, and you just
We
keep
could do a
going.
whole talk about bet sizing. I'm obsessed with bet sizing. Like, bet sizing. Well, you were a bank like at Lazard, but to me, I think there's brilliance in the concept of bet sizing. Because I've made
Yeah.
I paid up my expenses in college playing poker, and it's all
Yeah,
about bet
you probably
sizing.
thought about it even definitely more than me then. I think there's a lot of really interesting ways to think about that, and
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
pot odds and bet sizing. Basically like I can take a $5,000 risk on this marketing channel and it's got a
Yeah,
1 of 20 chance of succeeding. But if it succeeds, I just doubled our enterprise value. You take that bet every day, but I don't think most people think like that. They think
yeah,
it's 1 out of 20. I'm never going to do it. You're like,
yeah. And I
you're
guess like in a more simpleton way that even is kind of like related to what I said about like I pick my areas to focus on based on like the leverage, which is effectively the same thing. It's like the return and size of the bet. So it's like, okay, like here's an example. Like we started scaling this recruiting team even more. So I'm like, okay, we actually have a crazy amount of demand right now. We actually need a lot more people in a couple different roles. We have some global talent on this recruiting team right now who cost a couple $1,000s a month, and they recruit one person that's worth $1 million+ a year. Like I need 3 people on this team right now. We need to go way faster at this. And yeah, the risk is like literally minuscule. It's a few $1,000s a month and could make millions and millions and millions of
So,
dollars a year.
but
So it's like let's just focus on this.
what I would say to that, and I think, I think this is, I talk about this a lot, but it's just like, I'm hire fast, fire fast. That is
Yeah.
what I've, especially with global talent, because I wouldn't do that with like our COO or whatever, right? But with
Right.
global talent, I'm just like, hey, Sagan, can you guys just get me 10 recruiters? Just give me 10. Like, we'll look at them all at once. We'll start with 10. 3 of them won't even make it to the first day. Like, we'll interview 20. 10 will make offers to, 7 will say yes, 2 of them will be dog shit, and I'll have 5, and my break even on their salary is 1 tech a month. What
Absolutely, yeah.
why are we say, oh, hey, could you I'm just like, just come on.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm just like, come on, like we can go fast too with that kind of like forward forecasting. And you're just like, guys, I just need 5 recruiters a month because I know that after 90 days, 4 of them will be gone or whatever it is, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think about that as well.
I mean, what are my values or things I believe is just like in business, just like do more. So like whatever you're
Yeah.
doing that is like working, like just like do way more volume of it. So
That's a
that's
great
what
answer. Like more is
that
more.
yeah, like more is always better if it's something that's reasonably working. Like just try doing more of it. And so that's what I try to do here and talk to my team a lot about. It's just like, okay, if let's figure out if like mail's working, if we can get mail to work, what kind of mail works, and then like let's just try
Game
to do
on.
like way more of it.
I
Or
had
like
a
events, the
boss.
same thing. Like events are working. Okay, well, how could we do instead of 10 events a week, 40 events a week?
I had a boss who used to say, quantity has a quality of its own. I
I
was
think
like,
that's
that.
true.
It's a great line. Just like quantity has a quality of its own. So,
It absolutely does.
well, I know we're running up on an hour. Anything, anything comes to mind? Anything, I mean, we talked, this wasn't really like about global talent or whatever. We kind of backed into it a little bit, but like,
Yeah, which is fun.
which is great. But it was more just about thinking the way I'm just intrigued by the way your brain works. I'm actually struck by the similarities, but it was
Mm.
kind of like 2 different people in different geographic regions using the same textbook, but eventually getting to the same place, but in very different ways, which is just like, oh, that's how I thought about that, but you said it better than me, or vice versa, which is,
Yeah,
oh, that's
yeah,
exactly right, which is, it's about,
yeah.
removing a blocker and then enabling the next level of growth. And like, so is there anything that you wanted to mention or talk about, or any questions for me about global talent or AI or automation or any stuff like that? Things we're doing at Sagan, things you're doing at Jay Blanton, any of that kind of stuff.
I don't think so. I think just my message to anyone who's not in home services and wants to get in it or find what they want to do is what I said. Just like find something you're genuinely obsessed with and that you want to play the game and understand the game. And I think that's the best path forward for the success. And anyone who's in home services, I have started producing more content for
Love
people who
it.
are in the home service industry. So you could
Love
follow
it.
me on LinkedIn and X. I also started a newsletter, so you can join that.
Nice.
And other than that, yeah, connect with me. And this was a very energetic, fun conversation. It was cool getting to. We've been working with Sagan for a while, and it was cool getting to now like really talk to you like this. And I'm impressed by the way you think and the questions you ask and the way you frame things.
Thanks, man. I will make one final pitch to you, which is, with all the global talent that you're hiring, and Sagan is built off scratching my own itches. And it's totally free and it's included with your membership, which is, we do daily professional development that you can send your local and your global team to. And I think when you look at continuing to grow Jay Blanton, developing the skills of both your global talent and like your middle managers is
Yeah.
incredible. And it's totally free and it's totally included. I got it from John Wilson about external training providers. And I was
I
like,
think that's you know what? I think that's a extremely good point. We do a lot of external training on the field side through Nexstar, but we don't do training for our our global talent the way we should, and I think
We
that's
do accent
something that we need to-
reduction. We do finding automation opportunities, introduction to AI, how to manage
Yeah.
up. So, and it's totally included with your second membership, and it's totally free. So, I just wanted to, given the scope, the speed, and the scope, I would say sending them our way to let us upskill them. You don't have to do anything. I mean, you just send them the link to register, and we take care of it. So,
No, I think that's awesome. I think
so I
that's
wanted to
really cool.
pitch you on sending your team because we love doing. Again, I literally stole it from John Wilson, who was like, "Oh, we just send them to this thing and they train them and they come back and they know how to do that." I'm like, "Oh, I want that for global talent."
I love it. No,
Yeah,
that's
stole it
cool.
from
We'll
John.
follow up on that for sure.
100% stolen from John. Well, thanks. Give your Twitter handle in case people don't have it, and we can end with that.
It's should just be my name, Isaac Zimmerman. Isaac with
Awesome,
an
man.
A.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks, man. I'm gonna hit stop, stick on the line so it uploads. All right.